Hey folks, Ryan Wardlow here from Wardlow Farms. Today we're going to be talking about sweet corn, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to grow sweet corn, how to do a population count if you've never did one before. So whether you grow it commercially or whether you grow it just in your garden at home, hopefully you'll find this useful. Hey folks, hope you guys are having a great day. It's a beautiful day out here on the farm, and wanted to do a little video. I may do some more. I'm not quite sure yet. But one of the reasons is just to kind of show people about where their food comes from. There's a lot of misconceptions out there in agriculture, for people who are not around it. Um, some people think, farmers are trying to poison them or something like that with, the practices that we use or whatnot. And that's not the case at all. Um, all farmers work hard to provide a good quality product for the consumers out there, so everyone can eat and enjoy their food. Um, and by doing some of these videos, I think that it's just providing transparency to the consumer, especially if you ever buy produce from us, then you'll know exactly what you're getting. You'll get to see some of the practices and what we use and some of the varieties that we grow. And if you are a grower yourself, then maybe you'll learn some things and some tips that can help you out in your operation, whether you're a commercial grower or um, just growing in your garden at home. So today we're out here checking out our sweet corn field. We're looking at some of the corn that we planted early April. April 5th was the plant date. We planted a couple different varieties in that time frame. Mostly because what we are trying to do is we're trying to get the sweet corn out of the ground as soon as possible so we can get it to market as soon as possible. We want to hit that July 4th window because that's usually when a lot of sweet corn is available. People are wanting sweet corn, and so the sooner we can plant it and get it out of the ground and growing, the better. And that goes, for anyone who grows sweet corn. They already know this, right? So you want to get it out of the ground. You want to get it mature as soon as possible, so you can sell it. Um, like I said, we planted a 70-day variety from Rupp, and we also planted an 80-day or 82-day variety from Rupp. So if you're unfamiliar with that, what that means is once the seed germinates and it's out of the ground, that means the 70-day corn, after it germinates, it'll be ready to pick 70 days. Same thing for the 82-day corn. If it's out of the ground, as soon as it's out of the ground, it's 82 days to pick. So we planted this, I believe it's about 3/4 of an acre all at once, but we split the varieties with the number of days so it wouldn't be ready at all at one time. And that's important because, as a lot of you know already, that sweet corn has a shelf life. It's not out there and won't last forever. Once it's ready to pick, it's ready to pick, and you've got to sell it, as soon as possible because it doesn't have a long shelf life. You're talking maybe 7 days or something like that if you're doing refrigerating and you're cooling it properly. Um, but we were concerned about this sweet corn that we planted early. The soil temperatures was kind of cool. Ideally, we want something around 50 degrees when we plant sweet corn. We did have some nice weather. The outlook was nice. We even came out here and we tilled the ground, hoping that may speed up the process of warming up the soil. And we planted, and things were looking good. Then we had a cold spell. So that kind of scared us because we didn't know if the sweet corn would germinate. If your seed lays in the ground too long and you've got wet conditions, then your seed is going to rot. So when you're planting really early, you've got to be cautious about that, and or just at least keep it in mind. We anticipated having some loss in our stands and our germination because we planted it so early. So we raised our seed count per acre. We put on 24,000 seeds per acre. Normally, I would say that most sweet corn growers are going to grow in that 20,000 range. It depends on your setup. We planted 30-inch rows, and we're trying to get 24,000 seeds per acre. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to check and see what our germination was. It looks pretty good. Just looking at it, I can tell it's not 100% stand. But again, we kind of anticipated some of this to happen. If you've never checked the population in a field to see what your stand is, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but I'm going to show you now the method that I'm using. So there's a couple different methods that you can use to check the population in your fields. A lot of farmers, I'm sure you probably already know this. If you've grown corn, it doesn't matter if it's sweet corn, field corn, whatever. This is kind of a pretty general way to do it. There's a couple different ways. I'll tell you about the way that I'm doing it right now. I'm measuring out 22 feet there with a tape measure, and I'm going to mark off 8 rows, and we're going to count every single plant in those 8 rows, and that will give me the population. So if I count 175 seed or corn plants, living corn plants within that area, that means my population is going to be about 17,500. Now you can measure off 17 and a half feet and just count 1 row and multiply that by, I think it's 1,000, because that's a thousandth of an acre. You can get a population that way. You can measure out 172 feet, which is 100th of an acre, and then multiply that seed count by 100. I like the 8 by 22 method just because I think that's a little bit better of a representation of what you have. Because you may have 1 row, and I'll give you an example. I mean, this row here, it looks pretty good. There's not too many missing out of this. So if I just count this row, it may give me a false reading, because there's some other rows here that doesn't look as good as this. So that's just my personal preference. You also may want to take a couple different population counts within the field, just to get an idea of how much you have. So I'm going to count these, and then I'll tell you what I found. So I did some population counts here, and out of the 24,000 seed we planted per acre, here in the 70-day corn, I did 2 counts, and I had 17,000 and 18,000. So roughly that. And so that's not bad. I can accept that. And I think it'll still yield good at that rate. The singulation looks good, or for those of you who do not know what singulation is, I'll kind of show you if I can here. It's the distance between the plants. So see, we got kind of a double there. But the spacing in between your plants is important, because that's going to kind of determine how big your ears are, and also the width in between your rows. So if you're growing corn on a 40-inch row, you may want your spacing in between your plants to be a little bit closer, or you may want them a little further apart depending on the size of the ear that you want to achieve. But we do 30-inch rows, mainly because that's how most of our equipment is set up. The planters thrown 30-inch rows, tractors, so on and so forth. We've thought about toying around with the spacing and the width of the rows, but this year we're just doing the 30-inch row. On the 82-day corn, which is on the other side of the field over there, I did 3 counts over there and came up with 15,000, 12,000, and I believe it was 16,000. I had to think about there for a minute. That side of the field is a little bit wetter, so that may have had something to do with it. There's a little bit more water over there. We just got some rain here recently, and so that there's a little bit more trash over there too, that didn't get quite tilled in. We had pumpkins in this field last year, so that the trash may have messed with the planter depth. It could have. I'm not quite sure there. That variety is called Obsession, and we raised that variety last year, and we kind of had a problem with the population last year on that variety. However, it's not a good comparison to use because last year it was just so cold and wet all spring long, so we were just lucky to get it planted, and thankful for what we got. But even with that, even with I think last year we made it might have been like 10,000, and we still had pretty good yields. Sweet corn will put on another year if there's more space in between the plants. So if you've got some skips here and there, it might put on another year. But again, consistency is what you're striving for, at least what we're striving for. I'm no expert by any means, but you know, every operation is a little bit different, but we want to strive for a consistent size year. And we would like to get to the point where when we pick the sweet corn that we can pick it once and be done. If you've got skips and it's inconsistent spacing, or your planter depth is not planting it consistently and it all doesn't come up at the same time, you know, that's where you're going to have issues where you're going to be picking multiple times, because not all the years are going to be ready at once. So we want to try to get the years ready all at once so we can pick it all at once and not have to come back and pick it again. But we'll see how that goes. You know, I'll keep you guys informed, and when we go to picking sweet corn, you can kind of see what I'm talking about maybe. Another thing you may be asking is why we planted sweet corn on that side of the field and then over here and not, you know, left a space in the middle. Well, this whole field will be in sweet corn. There's roughly, I think, 4.5, 5 acres here. So all this is going to be in sweet corn, but we've spaced it out so it's not all ready at one time. We are going for like a 1/4 acre a week, which will translate into probably 300 or 400 dozen a week, depending on the yield. So we're comfortable with that we think that we can sell that, hopefully all ourselves, and not have to sell anything wholesale. But you know, that's not going to overwhelm us or overflood the market, and we feel like we can sell that. But the 82-day corn over there is it's a Roundup Ready variety, and it is a S2 super sweet bicolored. The 70-day corn here, it's also a bicolor. This is a non-GMO variety. It is not glyphosate tolerant, and it is an S1. So what happens if I planted this next to the Obsession over there, or the 82-day corn, then if it cross-pollinated, it would make the Obsession not taste as good. So, you know, that is the reason we are spacing it out. We planted on the other side of the field. By the time we get from over there to over here, we'll be like on our 10th planting. And if everything works out right, hopefully, we will be harvesting this when we're making our last planting here. So there is no chance that it will cross-pollinate. So that's my theory on that. So if you're growing sweet corn, you're growing different varieties, make sure that you're aware if it's a super sweet, if it's an S2 or an S1 variety, to be able to keep them separate, because you don't want them cross-pollinating. So that's just a few tips on growing sweet corn, whether you're growing it in your garden or, you know, you're growing it, you know, commercially. The concepts are basically the same. When you're planting your seed, you know, you kind of want to make sure you don't want to go any deeper than 2 inches. At least that's what we plant at, about 2 inches, or we'll get in the seed trench and put our finger down there, and once it's about up to our knuckle, that's good enough for us. So, and we don't have any big fancy planter or anything like that. It's just a John Deere 7000. It's a 4-row planter, and it has finger pickup meters. You know, it's not a vacuum planter or anything like that. Of course, someday would we like to maybe upgrade that? Yes, maybe upgrade the meters again, because we want to get a consistent depth when we plant. We want the corn to come up all at the same time, and we want good singulation or spacing in between the plants once they come up. So in a gist, that's what we're doing here. We're looking forward to the rest of the year. We still have a lot of sweet corn left to plant. We have green beans, we have tomatoes left to plant. We did actually make our first green bean planting. It's been almost a week ago. That's not up yet, but maybe I'll do a video on that and get you guys so you guys can see that. We also got pumpkins coming up. We got a plant. So a lot of things going on. Other things in the mix is that we are going to open up a roadside stand, Wardlow Farms roadside market. So we'll be able to, in addition to selling at farmers markets, we'll also have a location where people can come and actually purchase produce there. And anything that we don't grow already, we plan on purchasing from other local growers and selling there that doesn't have their own roadside stand, to try to help them out, pay it forward, that kind of thing. Farming's a community. All the farmers, we try to look out for each other, help each other out when we can. That's one of the great things about the farming community. There's not some type of competition. We want, I can't say everybody, but at least my personal opinion is that the community is a tight-knit community, and we all want to help each other out, and we want to see each other do well. I don't wish any ill will on another farmer or someone who has a roadside stand. I don't want to try to beat them, or I want us all to do well. Our job as American farmers is to provide safe, nutritious food for the consumers to eat, and that's what I love about farming. That's what I love to do. We've done several things in the past in farming, but growing vegetables is by far the most favorite thing that I've done in agriculture. I love to be able to provide fresh vegetables for people and make them happy. Everybody loves fresh vegetables, right? Who doesn't love fresh sweet corn? So this just gives you guys a little glimpse into our operation here. Like I said, I may do some future videos and show you guys some of the stuff that's going on the farm. And hope you guys are having a great day. And amidst all this COVID-19 stuff, stay safe with your families. And for all the farmers out there, you guys stay safe too. One thing about agriculture, folks, is that it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It can't stop. Farmers are out there every day. We're planting. We're making sure the ground's in the right shape so we can plant. We're taking care of things on the farm so everyone else can eat. So if you haven't, thank a farmer, and like this video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. Leave a comment down below, if there's something that you want to see about farming, whether it's something else that we plan or some other thing that we do on a farm. Just let me know and I'll try to make it happen. So hope you guys are having a great day. We'll talk to you soon.